Happy New Year! 2022 is off to a great start, and I'm super excited for our 5th episode of A User's Perspective of Dalet Flex. I want to thank all our viewers for subscribing to our channel and making great suggestions for our Quick Cut series. Today, we're going to talk about Dalet Flex objects in FlexMam, Dalet Flex's web-based asset management application. More specifically, we're talking about custom object types, commonly called UserDefined Objects, or UDOs. Unlike the system object types, you can customize UDOs in a variety of ways so that they meet the needs of your organization. You can add a display name, plural name, description, and even add icons so that your UDO type is easily identifiable in Dalet Flex. For example, if you were a production company, you might want to create a custom object called series. You can create relationships between your various custom object types, as well as between custom object types and system object types. For example, you could create a child object type called episode, and add as many episodes to a series as you want. Object types are not limited to series, season, episode hierarchies. Remember that these are custom objects that can be created for your own specific use case. This is the purpose of UDOs, helping you organize your assets in a structure that is tailored to your business, as well as meaningful and easy to navigate for users. If you're a sports organization, you could create a hierarchy around seasons, teams, players, and so on. Another example, you can see a few different UDO types here. Some are related to media like podcasts, trailers, and promos. However, you can also create UDO types for projects, distribution specifications, office location details, and much more. So now we get into the meaty part. How do we create UDO types in Dalet Flex? This will require some planning ahead depending on the complexity of your use case, because UDOs are configured with custom icons, metadata, and relationships to other objects in the system. So always measure before you cut. For this episode, I'm going to use the common series, season, episode hierarchy, and I'll show you some variations on this hierarchy to demonstrate the planning process for your user interface, metadata, and relational configurations. Okay, so let's say I want to create a simple series, season, episode object hierarchy. The first thing you'll want to think about is what metadata you would like to capture within this hierarchy. The metadata will be directly related to the UDO and indirectly related to the media assets stored as children of the UDO. The media assets will have their own metadata, so it's important to understand what metadata will be at each level of that hierarchy. Here, we can see the series UDO with its data definition. The data definition is the metadata definition that is created using the Flex Metadata Designer tool, which is something that we can cover in a future video tutorial. So here's where things start to get a little more complex. I can stop at series, season, episode with media assets under episode, or I can go one level higher or lower if needed. If my distribution rules are a bit more complex and I need to distribute my content in multiple renditions or languages, I can add a version UDO underneath episode. This new version UDO can carry metadata specific to that version of the episode. As we see here, this version is for another language, and it contains metadata for the localization of the media asset. Now, what if I do more than just series? In this example, we see that there's a UDO above series called title. Now, title can have series, feature, promo, or even ebooks as children. As I showed you those examples, did you notice the metadata definitions attached to each? In my example of title, series, season, episode, you can see that I use a single metadata definition for multiple UDO types. You can specify your own custom metadata for each UDO type, or use a predefined metadata definition. So in this example, I used the PB Core Metadata Standard, which is a cataloging standard for the description of audiovisual content, a data sharing tool, and much more. Since its development in the early 2000s, many organizations have been using this standard for their archiving needs. The three lower levels are using the same data definition in this case. The values in each UDO may be different, but the definition is simplified to work at each level. By now, you should have a solid idea of the hierarchy you need to use and what metadata you will need for each UDO type within that hierarchy. You may even decide to have no metadata at all, which is perfectly okay. Within the core admin interface, you'll now go over to the far right and click on New, then scroll down and click on Object Type. In the next window, you only need to fill in the text boxes with red asterisks, starting with Name. The name must be lowercase, unique, and descriptive enough for admins and developers to identify it. You can add a description that will also help others identify this object type. The display name should be entered how you want it to be displayed to the users, and this field is case sensitive. The plural name is the display name in its plural form. In the case of series, the plural of series is series, but the plural of season is seasons. Next, select the metadata definition that you prepared earlier, then the run rule. The run rule is not a required field, so I'm going to leave it blank. But you can enter in any run rule expression you require to make the UDO available only in the cases you specify. If you want only one group of users to be able to interact with this UDO type, for example. The next part is one of my favorites because it allows me to be a little creative. You will need to select 3 icon images to visually represent the object type in the user interface. I can either search the web for some copyright-free PNG images that fit the size requirement and properly represent the object type, or I can design my own. So in this case, I designed my own using Adobe Illustrator, and I exported the correct sizes needed for this configuration. Now we just select those icons and then click on Save. The next step is to go over to the Properties tab and configure the properties of this UDO. Click on Edit. Now select the properties for this UDO. A root object type will be the object that is at the topmost level of the hierarchy you are building. If you designed your own custom HTML panel to be used within the UDO, you can select Panel Supported and then add the URL for the HTML panel that will be displayed on the UDO in the user interface. For a complete description of each of these configuration options, please go to our help pages at the URL on the screen. When you're finished, click on Save. Finally, go to the Relationships tab and click on Edit. Here is where you will assign any other object types that will be children of this UDO. The object type can be any of the predefined system objects, or any other custom UDO you created that is not a root type. You will need to start building your UDOs at the bottom level so they're available to add as children to the upper levels. You can also add relationship multiplicity, which refers to how many child objects of each type can be created under the parent object. When you're finished adding your child object relationships, click Save. And the last part, you have to enable the newly created UDO so it's available for use within the system. And there you have it, a brand new custom object within your Dalet Flex platform that specifically meets the needs of your organization. Thanks again for watching episode 5 of Dalet Quick Cuts. If you have any questions or comments, please do comment below. That includes any suggestions for future episodes. Also, remember to like and subscribe to the channel so you're notified of the next episode release.